doll can hold a curse? Imagine owning a toy that brings nothing but misfortune and terror. For over a century, one doll has been at the center of chilling stories and eerie encounters. Before Annabelle, there was Robert, the original haunted doll. A simple child's toy transformed into a vessel of fear, whispering in the dark and striking terror into those who cross him. But what makes Robert so terrifying? And why does his legend still haunt us today? Some say Robert is simply an old, worn-out doll, nothing more than fabric and stuffing. But those who have dared to mock him, to challenge his eerie presence, tell a very different story. A story filled with unexplained tragedies, relentless misfortunes, and the overwhelming feeling that something is watching. Our story begins in 1896 in Key West, Florida. A wealthy family, the Ottos, had a son named Robert Eugene Otto. He was an imaginative boy who loved his toys, but one in particular stood out. A servant in their household, who was rumored to practice dark magic, gave young Robert a doll. It stood nearly 3 feet tall, dressed in a sailor's outfit, with black beady eyes and a disturbingly lifelike expression. Eugene adored the doll and named it Robert after himself. The two became inseparable. Eugene spoke to Robert constantly, as though the doll were a living companion. But then, strange things started happening. Whispers in the night, soft giggles that no one could explain. Eugene's parents dismissed it as their son's overactive imagination. But soon, even they couldn't ignore the chilling reality that their home was no longer safe. At first, it was small things. Eugene's parents heard him talking to Robert, but sometimes they swore they heard another voice responding. A deep, chilling voice that was not their son's. Servants whispered of seeing the doll blink or move slightly when no one was watching. Neighbors claimed they saw Robert moving from window to window when the house was empty. Soon, the disturbances became violent. One night, Eugene's mother awoke to the sound of her son screaming. She rushed into his room to find furniture overturned, objects scattered, and her terrified son curled in a corner. Robert sat on the bed, staring blankly. When asked what happened, Eugene could only stammer. It was Robert. Robert did it. And this was only the beginning. As Eugene grew older, the hauntings never stopped. His parents tried to lock Robert away, but the doll always found its way back to Eugene's room. Even when he left for school, his childhood toy remained in the house, as though waiting for his return. Years later, Eugene inherited his family home. Despite everything, he still kept Robert. But his wife, Anne, hated the doll. She insisted Robert be locked away in the attic. That's when things took a terrifying turn. Visitors heard footsteps in the attic when no one was there. Robert's eerie giggle echoed through the halls at night. A plumber working on the house fled in fear after witnessing Robert's expression change before his eyes. Eugene became obsessed with Robert. He spent hours in the attic speaking to the doll like an old friend. Anne, unable to take it anymore, locked Robert in a trunk, deep in the attic. Shortly after, Eugene fell ill. On his deathbed in 1974, he whispered only one name: Robert. After Eugene's passing, a new family moved into the house. Their 10-year-old daughter found Robert and took him as her own. But within days, she began screaming at night, claiming that Robert wanted to hurt her. The terrified family donated the doll to Fort East Martello Museum, where he remains to this day. But Robert's legend didn't end there. Visitors who mocked or disrespected the doll soon experienced bad luck. Letters from people all over the world are sent to Robert, begging for forgiveness. Some lost jobs. Some fell ill. Others got into accidents immediately after visiting. Staff members claim Robert's position changes overnight or his expression shifts when no one is looking. One museum worker once laughed at the doll while closing up for the night. Within a week, he was in a car accident, lost his job, and fell mysteriously ill. He later wrote an apology letter, begging for Robert's forgiveness. A tourist snapped a picture of Robert without permission. The next day, their camera malfunctioned, their phone erased all photos, and they experienced an unexplainable illness for weeks. There are hundreds of letters just like these, people pleading, apologizing, desperate to break the curse they unknowingly brought upon themselves. Even museum employees admit to feeling uneasy around the doll. Some refuse to be alone with him. Others report hearing whispers when no one else is around. On rare occasions, visitors claim they've seen Robert's eyes shift ever so slightly, as if watching them. Could Robert be possessed by something sinister? Paranormal experts have attempted to explain the doll's eerie behavior. Some believe Robert carries the spirit of the servant who created him, a woman who felt wronged by the Otto family and cursed the doll as revenge. Others think the doll may have absorbed decades of energy from those who feared him, turning him into a supernatural entity. Some skeptics argue that it's all just superstition. They claim that the fear surrounding Robert fuels psychosomatic experiences, where people believe so strongly in the curse that they bring misfortune upon themselves. But those who have suffered firsthand disagree. Robert still sits inside his glass case watching, waiting. But the question remains, is he truly cursed? Or is it all just coincidence? Some say his power is real. Some believe he's nothing more than a lifeless doll. But if you ever visit the museum, you must remember one important rule. Always ask Robert for permission before taking a picture. Would you dare visit Robert the doll and take a picture without asking his permission first?